The rain came down like a declaration of war. Not the gentle, drizzly kind you can stroll through without a care. No, this was ferocious rain, kicked off by a thunderclap so loud it was like the sky had had enough and decided to unleash everything. I'm Kyle, 22, just a regular grocery delivery guy trying to get through my shift. That day I was halfway through my route, my beat-up scooter carrying a bag of groceries precariously balanced on the floorboard, with 3 stops left on my list. The rain started pouring harder, soaking through the hoodie I always wear, making everything wet and heavy. But in that storm, a door opened literally and figuratively, leading to a moment that changed everything. If you think this is just a story about a soaked delivery guy, stick around, because something unexpected is waiting. I pulled up to a small house tucked behind a row of overgrown hedges, their leaves shimmering faintly in the dim light of the late afternoon. The house had a white porch and blue-painted window frames, reminding me of somewhere from a long time ago, though I couldn't quite place it. The cream-colored exterior was weathered, with patches worn by time, like the house had seen its share of storms. A porch light cast a warm golden glow, cutting through the thick curtain of rain. I rang the doorbell, then knocked twice, stepping back to avoid dripping water onto the porch. No umbrella, no raincoat, just my drenched hoodie clinging to me. Freezing cold. The door swung open. There she stood, Melissa, probably in her mid-30s but timeless in a way. Her hair was pulled up in a messy bun, a few strands falling loosely across her forehead like she'd been busy and rushed to answer the door. She wore a cozy beige sweater, sleeves rolled up slightly, revealing delicate wrists. Her bare feet stood on the polished hardwood floor, as if the storm outside didn't exist. The light from inside the house spilled out, highlighting her warm brown eyes, calm in a way that felt almost otherworldly. "Oh my gosh, you're a lifesaver," she said, her voice soft, paired with a smile that made me forget the chill for a moment. I held up the grocery bag, feeling awkward, trying not to drip on her doormat. "Your groceries," I said, sounding like a total dork, as if I was proving I was the world's greatest delivery guy. She laughed, a light, unpretentious laugh that eased the tension. She took the bag, her fingers brushing mine briefly, cool but lingering for a second. Then she paused, looking me up and down, not in a judgmental way, but like she was noticing something. "You're soaked to the bone," she said, a hint of concern in her voice. "Want to come in for a bit? Just until the rain lets up?" I hesitated. This wasn't in the delivery guy handbook. Normally, customers take their stuff, sign the app, and the door closes. But Melissa stepped aside, leaving the door wide open, like a quiet invitation. Something in her eyes, not pity, not curiosity, but genuine warmth, made it impossible to say no. "Sure," I said, my voice shaky, maybe from the cold, maybe from something else. I stepped inside, wiping my wet sneakers. On the mat, the house felt like a different world. It was warm, with a faint scent of cinnamon and some herb I couldn't name. A ceramic table lamp on an old wooden shelf cast a soft golden glow, making everything feel cozy. A stack of books sat haphazardly next to a gray upholstered sofa, like they'd been recently flipped through. A dog bed lay in the corner, but no dog in sight. On the wall, an abstract painting with splashes of blue and gold hung slightly crooked, as if the owner didn't care about perfection. "Hang your jacket there," Melissa said, pointing to a wooden hook by the door. I nodded, peeling off my dripping hoodie, water pattering onto the floor. I felt a little self-conscious, like an intruder in someone else's sanctuary. "Want some tea?" she asked, her tone so casual it was like I wasn't a stranger who'd just walked in, or something warmer. I shook my head, trying to stay polite. "Thanks, I'll just stay a minute. Didn't expect the rain to hit like that." She nodded, not pushing, and disappeared into the kitchen. I heard her soft footsteps on the hardwood, then she returned with a fluffy white towel, handing it to me without a word. I took it, drying my hair, the soft fabric soaking up the cold water from my scalp. When I looked up, she was watching me, her expression thoughtful, like she was trying to recall something. "Have we met before?" she asked suddenly. "You look familiar." I was caught off guard, pausing mid-wipe. "I don't think so. I mean, I grew up around here, moved back recently. Used to live near the old Mallister place, down the street." Her eyes lit up, like she'd found a missing puzzle piece. "You're not John Turner's kid, are you?" I blinked, surprised. "Yeah, that's my dad." She smiled, a warm, nostalgic smile. "Your dad used to help me with my garden. I remember you, always climbing trees or zipping around on that red bike. You crashed into my mailbox once." I laughed, a bit embarrassed, memories of childhood flooding back. That was me. Still got a scar on my knee from that crash. She laughed too, a clear, genuine sound. "I'm Melissa," she said. "I lived here for a while, then moved away. Came back last year. Divorced." The word divorced slipped out easily without bitterness, like a simple fact. "I'm sorry," I said, unsure how to respond. She shrugged. "It's okay. Sometimes things don't work out. Doesn't mean everything's bad." I nodded, not sure what to add. We sat in a comfortable silence, the rain pounding the porch roof like a relentless drum. Inside, the space felt oddly peaceful, like time had slowed down. She stood, grabbing a blanket from the back of the sofa and setting it on the armrest near me. "It's clean," she said. "If you need to warm up." I smiled, still shivering. "Thanks." I pulled the blanket over my shoulders, feeling its softness and warmth. In that moment, I wasn't just a delivery guy stressing about rent or the next order. I felt like a guest in a different life, one where things seemed lighter. The rain kept falling, but here, in Melissa's little house, I felt something new beginning I hadn't expected. The rain eased up, but Melissa's house stayed in my mind like a glowing beacon. I'm Kyle, just a 22-year-old delivery guy, used to racing through wet streets, handing off bags, getting half-hearted smiles, and moving on. But this time, something was different. Melissa, with her calm eyes and warm voice, left a mark I couldn't shake. I can't explain it, but every time I passed that street with the overgrown hedges, my heart beat a little faster. And then, as if fate was playing games, I found myself stopping at her house again. Just to check, I told myself, but deep down, I knew I was looking for something more. The second time, it wasn't raining, just a soft golden sunset stretching across the street. I parked my scooter, hesitating, my helmet tucked under my arm. It felt like I was crossing an invisible line, a place delivery guys like me didn't belong. But then I remembered her words, "If you need a place to warm up, you know where to find me." I took a deep breath and walked up the stone path, to the porch. The light still glowed that same warm gold, like a quiet welcome. I knocked softly, almost afraid to disturb something fragile. The door opened, and there was Melissa, barefoot again, in soft joggers and an oversized t-shirt. She held a coffee mug tilting her head, a smile spreading like she'd been expecting. "Me, Kyle," she said, her voice picking up where we'd left off. "Am I bothering you?" I asked, feeling awkward, like a kid standing in front of his crush. She shook her head, stepping aside. "Not at all. Come in. I just made tea." Inside the house was the same warm with that cinnamon and herb scent. The gray sofa sat snug in the corner, the stack of books now a little taller. The ceramic lamp cast its soft glow, making the room feel like a still life painting. I sat down, my body relaxing, like I belonged here. Melissa brought out 2 mugs of tea, the spicy aroma wafting up from something I didn't recognize. "Want something stronger?" she asked, her eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. I grinned, shaking my head. "This is good. I'm not much for living on the edge." We started talking, not the small talk customers used to fill silence. She asked about my job, the streets I rode through every day. I admitted, a bit shyly, that it wasn't glamorous, just zipping around, trying not to drop bags. "But you're good at it, right?" she said, not in a patronizing way but like she genuinely cared. I shrugged. "I dropped a bag of eggs once, not my finest moment." She laughed, a sound that filled the small room, and I found myself laughing too, more at ease than I expected. Then she told me about her dog, Daisy, a little mutt with floppy ears and a shy streak. "She's hiding under the bed," she said, pointing toward the stairs. "Hates thunder. I had to bribe her out with a piece of bacon once." I chuckled, picturing it. If I were Daisy, I'd hide too. Thunder's no joke. She tilted her head, studying me with curiosity. "You're not scared of anything, are you, Kyle?" The question caught me off guard. I wanted to say something cool, but instead, I told the truth. Plenty. Messing up something important, not being enough. She nodded. No judgment. Just listening, and it felt strangely freeing a bit later. Daisy wandered out from the stairs, sniffing the air before plopping down near my feet, like I was part of the furniture. "Well, look at that," Melissa said, her eyes lighting up. "Daisy doesn't warm up to strangers. You passed the test." I leaned down, scratching behind her ears, feeling the soft fur under my fingers. "Must be the grocery bag smell." I joked, but inside I felt a quiet pride about little things that somehow didn't feel boring. She shared stories about her job as an interior designer, how she helps people make their homes feel warm after tough times. "Kind of ironic," she said, her smile tinged with sadness. "I make homes for others, but sometimes I'm not sure where mine is." I nodded, feeling like I understood her a little more. Then I told her about the time I tried learning guitar to impress a high school crush, only to give up after 3 chords. She laughed, her eyes sparkling. "You've got to play for me sometime," she said. "Hard pass," I shot back, and we both laughed again. There was a moment, as she stood to refill our tea, when I noticed the little things. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the way her fingers grazed the edge of her mug, like she was lost in thought. I wondered if she noticed me watching her. She came back, setting a fresh mug in front of me. "You okay, Kyle?" she asked softly. I nodded, but inside, I felt a flicker of unease, not because of her, but because of this feeling, this pull to stay, to know her more, to be part of this moment. One evening, I showed up unannounced. It was dark, and I'd just finished a delivery, 2 streets over. I stood in front of her house, second-guessing myself, wondering if I was being too bold. But the porch light was on, and I knocked. Melissa opened the door, holding a small trash bag, her sweater long and cozy. She startled slightly, then that familiar smile appeared. "Kyle," she said, her voice bright. "Just passing through." Again, I scratched my head, sheepish. Yeah, something like that. She set the bag down, crossing her arms. Come in. I just made cookies. They're not great, but they're warm. I stepped inside, and this time it felt like I belonged. We sat on the sofa, nibbling on slightly undersweetened cookies that still tasted like butter and comfort. She asked about my day, and I told her about a grumpy customer who chewed me out for being 10 minutes late. She winced, sympathetic. I once turned in a design late, and the client reamed me out for an hour. She said, "But you know, sometimes the little stuff reminds you you're alive." I looked at her, struck by how she turned the mundane into something meaningful. Then one day, as I was leaving, she handed me a small key with a green tag. "No pressure," she said softly. "I'm just in the shower sometimes when you knock." I stared at the key, feeling its weight, like it held more than just access to a house. "You sure?" I asked. She smiled. "If I wasn't, I wouldn't have given it to you." I slipped it into my pocket, my heart pounding, not because it was a grand gesture, but because it was a small step full of meaning. Our visits grew more open. She told me about trying pottery to impress a guy, only to fall in love with the clay instead. I shared stories of my childhood pretending to be a DJ with an old cassette player. She laughed, demanding a reenactment. I refused, but her playful, warm eyes made me want to keep talking. One time, Daisy curled up between us, snoring softly, and I realized I didn't want to leave, not because of the tea or cookies, but because of this feeling of being seen, heard, and wanted. It wasn't always smooth sailing. One night, I showed up late because of traffic, and Melissa looked more worried than I expected. "I thought something happened to you," she said, a slight edge to her voice. I apologized, guilt washing over me. "I didn't mean to worry you." She nodded, her eyes softening. "Just let me know next time." "Okay," I promised, and for the first time, I felt like more than a guest. I was part of something, even if I couldn't name it. The days rolled on, and I realized Melissa's house wasn't just a pit stop. It became a place I returned to not just on rainy days, but on sunny ones, tired ones, or even ordinary ones. Our connection didn't have a clear label, not the dramatic love of movies or grand promises. It was like a quiet river, flowing steadily, carrying small moments I hadn't realized mattered so much. But in those simple things, I started to feel like I was building a life not just for me, but with her. I kept up my delivery job, weaving through wet or dusty streets, dealing with cranky customers and late paychecks. My life wasn't glamorous. My tiny apartment had a creaky bed, a noisy fridge, and bare walls. I didn't have close friends or time to dream big. But at Melissa's, everything felt different. Her house, with its golden light, faint cinnamon scent, and soft jazz from the speakers, washed away the exhaustion. It wasn't just a shelter from the rain, it was a place where I could be myself. One night I showed up aching from a long shift. It was raining again, like the weather was reminding me of our first meeting. Melissa opened the door wordlessly, handing me a towel and a dry tea. "My brothers left here ages ago," she said when I asked, her tone casual, like it was no big deal. I changed in her small bathroom, jazz drifting through the door. When I came out, she was curled up on the sofa, a book in hand, her eyes flicking to me with a gentle smile. "You look like a drowned plant," she teased. "Better now." I grinned, settling into my usual spot on the sofa, feeling like I had a place here. We didn't do anything special that night. She read. I closed my eyes, listening to the rain tap the windows. Daisy snoozed between us, her soft snores blending with the jazz. I thought about my life, the long days, unpaid bills, the pressure to do something with myself. But here, in this room, that pressure faded. Melissa never asked about my big plans or who I wanted to be. She asked about the little things, like who I delivered to that day or if I saw any stray cats on my route. And I loved that how she made everything feel lighter. But it wasn't all perfect. One time I was late because of a small snowstorm and my phone died, so I couldn't text her. When I got there, Melissa was at the door, worry etched on her face. "I thought you were stuck somewhere," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Don't scare me like that, okay?" I apologized, guilt hitting hard. "I didn't mean to. Things just got messy." She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't fully reassured. Later, over tea, she told me about getting lost on a trip once, with no one knowing where she was. "I don't want to feel that again," she said. And I realized my presence mattered to her, just as hers did to me. Another time we had a small argument, not loud but tense. She mentioned her ex-husband in a story, how he hated the house for being too quiet. I felt a pang, wondering if she was comparing me to him. I clammed up, retreating, and she noticed. "Kyle, I didn't mean it like that," she said, touching my arm. "I was just telling a story. He's not part of this anymore." I nodded, but doubt lingered. She didn't push me to talk. She just sat there, letting me work through it. And that's why I kept coming back, because she never tried to make me someone I wasn't. One weekend, Melissa suggested painting the back room, where she used to meet clients for her nail business. "I want to turn it into a reading nook," she said, her eyes bright. "Or maybe a little studio." I looked at the room, with its empty shelves and faded walls. "Sounds cool. Let's do it." We spent the weekend cleaning, playfully arguing about paint colors. I wanted gray. She insisted on soft green. It's like hope, she said, and I gave in. We laughed, fought over the paint roller, and found an old box of photos in a drawer. One showed her younger standing in a garden, reminding me of her story about my dad. You're a lot like him, she said, looking at the photo. Patient, kind, and the walls were done, the soft green glowing under the light. She stood back, whispering, it really does feel like hope. I looked at her, her eyes shining, and something in me lit up too. That night, we lay on the sofa, the glow from the living room spilling in. She turned to me, her voice soft. Kyle, what is this between us? The question didn't scare me, but it made me think, I think. It's something we didn't expect but don't want to lose, I said. I don't care what we call it, as long as it's real. She took my hand under the blanket, squeezing gently. It's real, she said. That's enough. The days went on, and I started leaving traces of myself in her house. A mug I used sat next to hers on the kitchen shelf. A phone charger stayed plugged in near the bed. My clothes showed up in a drawer, not because I planned to move in, but because it just happened. One time I brought a cheap dog toy for Daisy from a gas station, and Melissa laughed as Daisy tore into it with glee. You're spoiling her, she said, but her eyes said she loved it. But I wasn't always sure of myself. Some nights I wondered if I deserved this. Melissa had a stable life, a house, a job, a dog. I was just a delivery guy with a rickety scooter and vague dreams. One night, after she fell asleep on my shoulder during a movie, I slipped out, grabbed my jacket, and left. I rode through the city, the cold wind slapping my face, reminding me who I was before all this warmth began. But no matter how far I went, her house stayed in my mind, the golden light, the tea, her hand brushing mine. The next morning I came back. Melissa opened the door, looked at me for a moment, then said, Where'd you go last night? I sighed. I got scared, Melissa. Scared I'm falling into something too big and I don't know how to hold on to it. She didn't get mad or lecture me. She just nodded. You don't have to run, Kyle. Not here. Not with me. I stepped inside, and for the first time, I believed I could stay. And those days with Melissa became essential to me. Kyle, a 22-year-old delivery guy. There wasn't one big moment that changed everything, no moonlight confessions or eternal vows. Instead, our connection grew from small, quiet choices we made for each other, day after day. Her house, with its warm light, cinnamon scent, and Daisy's soft snores, became my home too. Looking back, I realized love isn't about dramatic moments, it's the way we choose to stay, even when things aren't perfect. A year after that rainy delivery, I stood at her door again, not for a drop-off, but because I wanted to be there. Melissa opened it, holding 2 mugs of tea, a playful smile on her lips. Happy accidental anniversary, she said, her voice light but meaningful. I blinked, surprised you remembered. She shrugged, handing me a steaming mug. How could I forget the day a stranger walked in and never really left? We sat on the porch watching a light rainfall, the porch light casting a glow over the wet street. The tea in my hands was warm, just like the way she warmed my world. Our relationship was never defined by big words. We didn't call each other boyfriend or girlfriend or make grand plans. But every day, we chose each other through small acts, like when I fixed her wobbly porch step, just because I noticed it. When I finished, her eyes welled up, not for the step, but because, as she said, no one's ever done something for me without me asking. I just grinned, wiping sweat from my forehead. Just a few nails, I said, but her look told me it was more. It wasn't always easy. Some days I carried work stress, long shifts, rude customers, the feeling I wasn't getting anywhere. Melissa didn't try to fix me or offer cliches. She listened, sometimes held my hand, sometimes let me sit in silence with my tea. Once, she told me about her rough days after her divorce, when she thought she'd always be alone. I thought, the best parts of my life were over, she said quietly. Then you showed up, soaked to the bone, and everything changed. I looked at her, my heart skipping a beat. I didn't think I'd find this either, I said. A place where I don't have to run. Her family, especially her parents, started to warm to me. Not right away, but gradually. I fixed their microwave during a holiday visit, and her dad nodded, saying, You've got steady hands. Takes patience. I smiled, not trying to impress, just doing what felt right. Melissa said her mum started asking about me, not prying, but curious. They see you're not going anywhere, she said. That matters to them. I didn't need their approval, but knowing they were opening up felt good. We kept building our life together, not through big moments, but through small habits. Tuesday night dinners when I'd bring home leftover pastries from a bakery near work. Walks with Daisy in the cold, when Melissa wrapped a scarf around my neck so I wouldn't catch a chill. Days spent cleaning the porch, her teasing me for being afraid of heights, me pretending to sulk just to hear her laugh. Once she left a note in my lunch bag. Don't drop the eggs today, DJ. I laughed, remembering the silly nickname she gave me from my childhood DJ story. Those little things, the notes, the smiles made me realize this wasn't just a phase, this was a life. One night, curled up on the sofa watching an old movie we barely paid attention to, Melissa turned to me. I didn't think my life would be like this, she whispered. Like what? I asked, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Lonelier, she said, colder. I thought the good stuff was all behind me. I looked into her eyes, the lamp's glow reflecting in them. It's not behind you, I said. It's different, but it's good, maybe better. She smiled, squeezing my hand tighter. And we sat in a silence that didn't need words. Our love wasn't the stuff of movies, no fireworks or grand speeches. It was the moments we chose to stay, even when leaving would have been easier. The way she left a mug of tea out when she knew I was coming. The way I fixed her porch just to keep her safe. The way Daisy slept between us, snoring, like she chose me to. Every time it rains, I think of that first day, standing drenched and awkward at her door, and how she let me in not just into her house, but into her life. Now, looking back, I see that love isn't about finding the perfect person or story. It's about two people growing closer. Through rainy days, mugs of tea, and little arguments. It's realizing there's no distance left between you, just a shared space you've built together. We're still going, still learning, still choosing each other every day. And when the rain falls, I see her, standing under the porch light, holding a mug, smiling like she knows I'll always come back. The rain still falls, but it's not the cold, relentless storm of that first day. For me, Kyle and Melissa, every drop is a reminder of our journey from a soaked delivery guy at a stranger's door to warm moments with tea, laughter, and Daisy's soft snores between us. Love, it turns out, isn't about grand gestures or forever promises. It's the choice to stay, the small acts that mean everything, like Melissa's notes in my lunch or the way I fixed her porch just to see her smile. We found each other in the rain, and every day we choose to build a life together. Imperfect but real. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever found light in your darkest days, give it a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Hidden Tales. We bring you stories of ordinary moments that mean the world, and we want you to be part of this journey. Tell us what moment in your life made you feel seen and like you belonged. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next story.